Hi everybody, we're back playing more Super Hexagon Nightmare Crack Addiction version.
What the
Brain crack right here.
Mind crack.
Yeah, that's it. Mind
Okay,
crack.
I just got 9 seconds.
Am I on this right map?
It's the one that goes. I
am not on the right map. That's alright. Okay, there I'm back. I wasted a whole 30 seconds on the wrong map. That's
it's gonna cost you.
I know.
Were you on one of the super high difficulties or what?
What?
What difficulty were you on?
Just the last one. The harder, not hardest.
Ah, the one we did in the last video.
Yeah. Wow, how do you do?
So do we need to talk about the series and what we're doing?
Yeah.
Intro?
What are we doing?
We're playing for 20 minutes on this difficulty, the third difficulty setting, to see who gets the highest score. And since this game is fairly impossible to comment on, we are coming up with topics to discuss while we try to beat the other person senseless in a video game.
Yes, so you can see my recording on my channel and Tarquinn's recording on his channel, and I highly recommend you watch them both at the same time. Split screen it.
Yes.
That's the way I'm gonna watch it.
What's the topic of conversation?
RPGs.
See, RPGs. What are those? Is that like a
role-playing games? When I was a kid, I thought role-playing games meant you roll dice while you're playing games, but no, it's you take on a role while you're playing the game.
Yeah, it was actually hard for me when I was younger to figure out what determined an RPG, because I thought an RPG role-playing game, basically any video game's a role-playing game because you play as a character, except for like this, unless you're role-playing a triangle. Oops, that was messed up. I'm totally role-playing this triangle. Yeah. I'm dodging all the lines, except for that I would call games like Legend of Zelda and stuff like that, where largely you just had one or a few characters that you controlled, and they actually had story that unfolded throughout the game. I thought that was a role-playing game. Yeah. The funny thing is, I mean, I don't consider the Legend of Zelda a role-playing game anymore. Yeah, it's an action game. I think you've persuaded me on that. Adventure game, that's right. No. Well, it's an action-adventure game, yeah. But my definition of a role-playing game now is a game with a level-up system where there's never a point in the game where you have to just be good enough because you're not getting anything else until you beat this part of the game. Yep. And that's the way the Legend of Zelda is. Of course, role-playing games originally nothing to do with video games. Yeah, they were board games. Sometimes they still don't. Well, they're tabletop pen games. And paper. Yeah. Tabletop. My oldest brother designs role-playing games in his spare time. It's like a It's like a part-time job. Does he make money on them? Oh yeah. It's like a part-time job for him. But that's pretty cool. Does he get commissions, or does he just come up with ideas and then sell them to companies? He creates them, writes them, produces them, sells them himself, prints out the books, sells them himself, goes to conventions, people love him. Holy cow, that's spinning fast. I do love the colors here. It's not distracting at all. And I remember one time I was hanging out in a gaming store, and I guess I can't remember the beginning of the conversation, but somebody was looking at a role-playing game, and a tabletop role-playing game, and somebody else said, "Hey, what's that?" And the guy said, "It's an RPG." "Oh, good. What system is it for?" No, you play it with pen and paper. It's for your kitchen table. Yep, so this guy had never been introduced to tabletop role-playing. He thought it was Final Fantasy, that introduced role-playing, that sort of thing. Oh yeah. So first role-playing game. My first console role-playing game? Yeah, I think my first was Shining Force. Shining Force? No, there must have been some Nintendo games I played that were RPGs. Like Dragon Warrior or Final Fantasy or something? But they weren't the big ones. And I can't remember what they are. It was so long ago. They're so obscure. Dungeons and Dragons? I have no clue. Holy cow. But the first one I really played was Shining Force.
game
Well, I
is
remember
so
playing
good.
all the Dragon Warrior games,
Mm-hmm.
but I think I'm pretty sure I played them after I was after I already had a Super Nintendo, um, because I didn't get into them until the Super Nintendo. And the first game, the first RPG I ever remember playing on the Super Nintendo was Final Fantasy II, and I didn't like it. I thought it was stupid, and I didn't like the battle system or anything.
Huh.
And then
Wow, that's
shortly
fast.
after that, I played Mystic Quest,
Yep.
and I liked Mystic Quest.
Yep.
So I went back and played Final Fantasy II and liked it a little better, but never really got into it. Then I started playing all the Dragon Warrior games on the Nintendo, but I never really... I liked the genre. I knew I wanted to play more of it, but I never beat any of those games until Final Fantasy III came around. And then I stayed up all night beating that game when we rented it from the store. I loved that game. And that was about all I played at the time. After that, I wanted to play every single game made by Squaresoft.
That's so cool. I remember I loved Mystic Quest as well, but I remember playing a Final Fantasy on the Game Boy with the same mechanics. Can't remember which one it was.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy Legend, probably.
Probably. And it was really hard. That was the main thing about it. You know, I liked it, but it was really hard. And I played Mystic Quest, and Mystic Quest had that cool weapon gimmick, and was much easier. So that's why
it was much easier than the Game Boy game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Game Boy game, the Game Boy Final Fantasy game that I remember playing was actually Saga 2, which was Final Fantasy Legend 2 in America. It was the second of many games in the Saga series that half of them never came out in America. But it was a really interesting series. The guy that developed those games, I guess the games that he made in America that are most well known are stuff like Legend of Mana and Saga Frontier, the two Saga Frontier games on the PlayStation.
Yep.
But he is one of my favorite idea men at Final Fantasy, at Square. I don't know if he's still there, but I love the concepts that he comes up with of the game mechanics, how you level up way differently than traditional console RPGs. I've always liked his ideas, but his execution has never been my favorite. It's like he gets too ambitious, and then it ends up not making sense to anybody. It only makes sense to him. But I do like it. He is definitely ahead of his time as far as his gameplay design goes, I think. I think he tries to make console video games a lot more like tabletops. He seems to incorporate the randomness of dice rolling into his games a lot more than the mainline Final Fantasy games did.
Oh, my Tourette's is killing me. Okay. Take a twitching break.
So one of the things that I liked about his way of designing games was your characters level up based on the skills you use, not based on fighting a number of monsters. If you use your fighting skills, you get stronger. If you use your magic, you get more intelligence, etc., etc. I've always liked that a way of leveling up better than just level up and random stats based on your class increase.
I still think my favorite leveling system in RPGs is Shining Force, because I've never seen another game do it, but at the time it just made the most sense in the world, which was, you know, instead of every enemy you kill gives you however many experience, and the higher level you are, the more experience you need to level up again. In Shining Force, you need 100 experience to level up, no matter what level you are. 100 experience. I remember that. And if
the ogre battle games are like that too.
Yeah, and are they? Oh, I don't remember that.
100 levels. 100 experience. Every level.
But it was when you killed an enemy, it compared your level to their quote unquote level, and gave you 50 was the maximum, or 49 was the maximum.
Based on killing stronger or weaker enemies than you?
Based on killing stronger enemies, yeah. And if they
that makes sense to me.
If they were weaker, it would keep going down until you only got 1 experience for killing them. And as a result, if you didn't level up your weaker characters, your party would get weaker because your stronger characters weren't gaining experience.
Oh, that's cool. That's a nice balancing mechanic.
Oh, yeah, it's brilliant.
So it encourages you to use all of your characters as well as... and you can only have, what, 6 characters on the battlefield at one time?
12.
So you have to cycle through your characters when you have more than 12?
Yeah, you have to pick and choose. So, you know, the weaker ones that you're having a hard time leveling, you just leave out.
The farthest I ever got in any of the Shining Force games, I think it was Shining Force 2. I remember getting out of the first city area for the first time, and then they said, go past the mountain and find another city or something like that.
Yep.
And I could never find the next waypoint. I had no idea where to go in the game, and I looked around forever.
Yeah,
Couldn't find the next area.
Shining Force 2 wasn't designed as well as the first one. There are a couple spots where it's easy to get stuck.
Well,
I did when I was
I liked the game, but I couldn't figure out where to go, and this was before the internet was.
Yeah.
Where you could find players' guides easily on the internet.
Yeah, fortunately for me, I would borrow them from my brother's friends, and I'd get stuck and ask them, "What do I do now?" And they'd tell me. So that's also the same thing happened in Chrono Trigger. First time I rented and played Chrono Trigger, I got stuck in the Abbey. You're supposed to push the button or something. With first time you meet Frog.
Oh yeah, play the piano.
Yep. Oh, that's what it play the piano, and I had no idea. And I don't remember. I must have been talking to my brother while on the phone while he was at college, and mentioned I was playing Chrono Trigger, and he said, "Oh yeah, my roommate loves that game. And that's like his favorite game." I said, "Really? I'm really stuck on this part." And so he handed the phone over and talked me through it. It was the coolest thing. Yeah. So I always had like word of mouth help me.
It's kind of funny that you say that because you don't like communicating with people, but you would talk to people about video games. First friends I ever made in high school was I heard these two kids talking about Wave Race 64 on the N64, and I was like, hey, I know that game because I was subscribed to Nintendo Power. Even though I didn't have the game, I'd played it. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know other people played video games. I thought this was some weird, freaky thing that me and my brothers did, or my brother did. I don't have multiple brothers. Because we had nothing else to do. I didn't realize other people actually did that. So it was cool. And this was in high school. This was like 10th grade, 11th grade, something like that. First time I ever made friends with people talking about video games. So I made it all the way to 11th grade and never really knew that other people played video games seriously until that point.
So you mentioned renting Final Fantasy and staying up all the time to beat it. I had a similar experience with Phantasy Star 4, just still to this day one of my favorite RPGs.
We didn't have a Genesis when I was younger.
Yeah, I was pretty lucky with that. Well, I think the Genesis had better RPGs, but probably because I played them more. I didn't play Final Fantasy 6. I'm a snob. I didn't play Final Fantasy 6 until much later. But yeah, I would stay up all night and play that game so much. It was so long and so hard. And I remember the memory chip in the game died. The battery
on Phantasy Star.
On Phantasy Star. So I had to leave the console on all 24 hours, which was really fun. It still took me forever to beat that game. That's one of the few Genesis games that I actually bought. That and Shining Force.
You mean bought with your own money, or you got it?
Yeah, with my own money. Because renting it just wasn't good enough. I had to buy myself a copy. When I was a kid, I bought a handful of Nintendo games, but Genesis games were a bit more special. I think we had a catalog to buy Nintendo games from. It's easy.
Oh wow. I remember catalogs, and like video game magazines had the little section where you could buy video games out of them.
Yeah.
I think the first video game I ever bought was probably me and my brother loved this game called Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo, and the video game store that we went to, it was a local own, it wasn't like a chain. This guy said he would buy any video game that was requested for people to rent, and we said we wanted him to buy Shadowrun for the Super Nintendo because we'd seen it in a magazine and looked really cool. And he said, all right, I'll buy it. And so he put it on the shelf and we rented it 2 or 3 weeks. And then we didn't rent it for a while after that. And a couple months later, we went into the store just looking for some other game. And there was a little box on the counter that said used games at a discount price. Shadowrun was in there because apparently nobody was renting it. And it was $11 when knew it was $60.
Yeah.
So I bought the game.
That's cool.
And loved it. So I got the game at a discounted price because nobody else rented it. It's kind of funny.
There was a local video rental place that had games as well. They were called Pick-a-Flick.
Pick-a-Flick.
And
I remember something similar to that,
they,
actually.
bought games, you know, when whatever the chains that would rent out movies, whenever they were done with their movies, Pick-a-Flick would buy them. So they had the previous generation of rentals, and they were cheaper. And it's out of business now. I still remember where it is. I still drive by it and look over. Because when I was a kid, that was just the coolest store. Because we could afford to rent those games. And so we rented them a lot.
That's cool. That reminds me of Be Kind Rewind, that Michel Gondry movie. Super good movie. They ran a VHS store when the DVDs were just becoming popular.
Okay. Yep.
And they had the... You know what?
I know what movie you're talking about, and yes, it did remind me of Pick-a-Flick, just watching the preview.
That's a very interesting movie. I would highly recommend that to anybody who has fond memories of going to the video store, and especially VHSs, because it was very...
How do you do that?
You could tell that the guy that directed the movie had a very large nostalgia for that particular time frame.
Yeah.
Back before you could just get any movie online. You actually had to go there and flip through the movies, look at the back of the box, and read the description to determine what you wanted to watch, because there weren't just YouTube trailers or something like that on the internet that you could watch.
So back to the topic. Cool. I don't like modern RPGs. I don't like modern RPGs.
What? Give me an example of
changing.
One.
Well, and I think the lines are getting blurrier, but
from extended exposure.
Yeah, but so is the new BioShock an RPG? Is BioShock an RPG?
I know Borderlands is an RPG, and I don't know if BioShock is an RPG because I don't know if there's a level up system in the game.
Well, you gain new abilities.
Yeah, well, you gain new abilities in The Legend of Zelda.
Is XCOM an RPG? The new XCOM?
No, XCOM's a real-time strategy game.
Okay, it's not real-time.
Real-time strategy. Well, I mean, a roguelike turn-based strategy, yes.
I don't think it's roguelike either. But
well, roguelike in the sense that it has randomly generated levels.
But it doesn't.
Oh, well then it's not roguelike.
Yeah.
Maybe the original XCOM was roguelike.
Yeah, the original is definitely.
Okay. I haven't played the new XCOM. I've only seen a couple of videos of it.
So, you know, the strength of classic RPGs, one of them was characters. Because you had lots of characters and they were well developed and you cared about them. And modern gaming, the biggest experience I've had with caring about characters was XCOM, because they were completely customizable.
And when they died, they were dead.
Yeah, because, you know, I'd get a team and you know, I'd name one of them Julie Kedzie, who's a fighter I like, because, you know, I'm a big MMA nerd. Most MMA people won't even know who Julie Kedzie is, but I like her. And if she dies, I'm devastated because somebody just killed Julie Kedzie.
That's funny. I can't believe you killed my MMA lady.
It's so amazing, but
the only modern RPGs that I'm familiar with, other than the MMOs, are stuff like Mass Effect and Borderlands and the Final Fantasies and stuff like that. I'm not familiar with very many other ones.
And I think
there's a new one that just came out that was called Nino Kuni or something. It looks kind of like a modern reinterpretation of Pokemon with Howl's Moving Castle type graphics in it. Like those anime style graphics.
I'm glad Pokemon is still relevant because it has
and Pokemon.
It has good classic RPG elements to it. That even if I'm not necessarily a fan of the series, I used to play Pokemon plenty. But even if I'm not a fan of the series anymore, it's still great to have that.
I've heard that Pokemon Black and White was the revival of the genre. Actually became the new best Pokemon game of the generations of Pokemons. But I don't know that for certain because I've never played.
Our time is up, so.
Okay.
Wait, I got 11.01.
Oh, whoops. I need to die. 13.29.
Oh, well done.
Hooray! I actually achieved a beating something. Baker, Bertrude, Porter.
So I'm gonna practice the next 3 levels and before we play them.
I'm going to look at them in fear and probably not practice them.
It's a good plan. So, everybody, this has been Bertrude and Tarquinn. If there's something you want to hear us talk about, we're gonna make more of these.
3 more.
At least 3 more. We might do more. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a series where we do first to beat 60 seconds on each one.
Yeah.
That's technically beating the level.
Just talk about the topic until we hit 60 seconds.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm down with that idea. Anyway, thanks for watching.